Hey guys, Renova here. I finally finished doing some testing, which took quite a bit, honestly, because I had exams and I had to study for them, and I had to push back NGS just to focus on that. And then a week after I finished my exams, my niece trolled me by coughing on me and got me sick. Thankfully, it wasn't serious as COVID, otherwise it would have been bad. I am negative, so that's also a plus. In this video, I will go over my overall thoughts on each of these new PAs, and I will timestamp them in the description and in the comments, so feel free to skip to the parts you are more interested in. So first we have the sword, Relentless Cleave, which is a powerful PA with a charged and uncharged version. Very useful for bossing and a bit of mobbing. This sends out a huge wave covering a lot of distance between you and the enemies. And this is a very safe PA to use along with the sword's passive to automatically trigger Hunter Arts Avenger passive while charging the PA, and has a long window of iframes. Wired Lance's Hellish Fall is a good PA in its own way. There are two versions of this, one being able to leap upwards and maybe lift small enemies and slam them to the ground. Two, a lot of people are unaware that you can charge this. This version lets you take reduced damage while charging, and while you're charging this PA, it takes a while to fully charge. I think this PA you want to intentionally get hit, as this will make the charging faster. And when you charge this, there's two charges. The first one takes effect when you intentionally get hit, and the second one you will glow purple. You're also going to trigger the Hunter Arts Avenger passive doing this as well, because after the second charge, and you get hit a second time, you'll automatically attack, triggering the second version of the PA and the Hunter Arts Avenger passive, and overall it has a bigger damage output. The Triumphant Shift is an okay PA for Partisan, leaping you upwards towards the enemy, and it can be cancelled, but you might lose potency. The damage is good overall, but there are a set of drawbacks to this. One being not able to have iframes with this PA after timing attacks to trigger the Hunter Arts Avenger passive to do bonus damage. You're always going to get hit unless you pinpoint the timing to like 0.01 second or something. Like you really have to squeeze it in there. I know this because I tried making this PA work during training with Fomelgion, and it didn't go well. And all the other Partisan PAs has chargeable ones. This one does not. Twin Dagger Limit Figure is a good PA for applying DPS, using its directional input to summon a stationary vertical rift, and a non-directional input for a quick horizontal AoE attack. Knuckles' backhand strike is okay. The damage is almost equivalent to the weapon action counter, but the huge downside to this is the PP cost is too high. So sometimes it is not worth for its cost when you're better off weapon actioning for longer iframes and better damage output. You want to mainly do the directional input for the backhand strike to intentionally counterattack. A non-directional, you'll do next to no damage at all. Double Saber Sky Climb is a great PA, good for applying fast damage, and it also has that vertical leverage from the directional input, and the non-directional for a direct smash. There's no downside from using this in my point of view, so it gets a thumbs up from me. Rifle's Revolt Aim is okay. The damage is good, but it has a few issues. One being that the mark is a fixed position that you can't adjust in any way. Two, that if you initiate the attack, you're stuck in the animation for a while, making you invulnerable. And three, too much thinking about positioning. Divine Impact is a nice PA for AoE clearing. It has two variations. One, of course, having the charged version, which can be shot from a very far distance and set an explosion when you fire it. The other is a close range explosion dealing good amount of damage. Infinite Ricochet is very good for charging the chain trigger when mobbing. Like the name states, ricocheting bullets, bouncing around to hit more targets. The damage is nice overall. It doesn't have a final blast at the end, so you're better off using another PA to deal bonus damage when triggering the full charge of the chain trigger. You can also combine this PA with a weapon action to do a different variation of wider range and attacks while dodging as long as the chain trigger is active. Katana's Radiant Lilac is very good, dealing a lot of damage while applying gap closures to enemies. I feel like this could be faster than dashing towards them. You can of course mix this PA with other katanas while applying the Fearless Attitude passive and still keep up the combos. Very good for bosses that move too much basically. The distance is short if you're doing it on a non-target, but the range can expand when you lock onto an enemy. The Ceaseless Draw for bow is very good in mobility and damage output, and it has two variations. One by directional input where you leap towards any input direction while applying pretty good damage. The other is a chargeable stationary one that does a lot of damage, equivalent if not better than the third Charge Flex era PA. I like the directional variations because it gives you a lot of mobility combined with the Bow Illusion plus passive, granting more mobility with the directional input plus the weapon action. And I believe the Bow Illusion passive grants PP back for each shot it lands too. Surging Impulse for jet boots is good for two reasons. one for gap closing, and a charged version triggering special elemental effects from techniques. The charged version basically will passively build as long as you're close to the enemy, so you don't always have to cast techniques individually. Once it's done charging, it will do an explosion, dealing bonus damage. You still have to cast a technique at least once so you can get the effect on your boots. The Soaring Blades Raving Falcon is okay. I'm kind of disappointed because it's basically a re-release PA from A12's Soaring Blades from base, but happy that it gives the weapon a bit more range. When you first tap the PA, you'll shoot shockwaves. You can interrupt this PA by tapping it again to perform a gap closure and close in on them. Force and Techter both have 3 new compound tags, but share the same ones, which you can learn the skills on the skill tree. Fomelgion is probably the best and most popular compound techniques out of the 3. This shoots a big AoE wave dealing a large amount of damage, and it will also charge your dark text to the max, and you can trigger the Midget Sphere passive. Barantsion shoots like a vortex, I think pulls in enemies in range. This stacks up the ice and light techniques so you can trigger the Barda Blot and the Grand Scalar passives. Zandion uses wind and lightning techniques, attacking enemies in range while charging up your lightning and wind techniques to the max, so you can trigger the Zen Gale and the Zandion passives. These compound techniques takes a while to charge. That's basically the only downside about these compound techniques, but it's worth it in the end. Overall, all the PAs are good. Some have flaws, but they're all good regardless. I like the new PAs, and this gets me more excited to see more new PAs that they will release in the future. But yeah, now that I finished testing them, I'm able to give an insight of my thoughts of each of them, what benefits it has and flaws. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I would appreciate a thumbs up and a sub to the channel for more PSO2 content. And yeah, thanks again everyone. I hope you all have a great day. Happy Mother's Day if you celebrated it already, and as always, happy grinding, and I'll see you all in the next one.